Hello and welcome everyone to this session entitled Exploring the SDGs and Empowering Communities Through Virtual Projects with examples from Nigeria and Tanzania. I would like to welcome everyone to the session, and I'm going to just give a few reminders, some housekeeping quickly, and then I will introduce our speakers for this morning. So attendees, please note that your microphones and cameras are automatically muted throughout the session. If you would like to ask questions of the presenters, please use the question and answer tool located on the right side of your screen in the tool ribbon. We encourage you to certainly chat with your fellow attendees using the chat feature. But if you have questions for the presenters themselves, please put those in the Q&A. One last thing I would draw your attention to is there's a slider bar beneath the video and content windows at the bottom of your screen, which will allow you to adjust the size of the windows for your ideal viewing experience during the session. So feel free to do that. And if you experience any technical issues during the session, you'll also see there is a moderator chat on the right-hand toolbar located just beneath the primary chat function, and a member of our support team can help you if you run into any technical difficulties during the session. All right, with all of that taken care of, I will introduce our speakers for today. Dr. Mara Huber is the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Research and Experiential Learning, and she's the Director of the Experiential Learning Network at the University of Buffalo. She is joined today by Gideon Adeniyi, who serves as the Program Officer of Primary Healthcare and Health Management Center. He's on the International Advisory Board for CT University, and he serves as a part-time lecturer at the Academy of Medical and Health Education. Stephen Marwa serves as Executive Director of Hope Revival Children's Organization in Tanzania, and I welcome all of you to the session, and I'll hand it over to Mara.
Thank you, Jan. Hello, everyone. My name is Mara Huber, and I'm actually joining you from our University at Buffalo Experiential Learning Network, which is where we dream up all of the exciting projects like those you'll be today. And I wanted to just say how excited I am, especially because I will be joined by my collaborators, Stephen and Gideon. And I thought I would begin our presentation by sharing a little bit about how I actually met Stephen and Gideon. I think it speaks to a unique moment in time that we find ourselves in as it relates to global collaboration. So I met Stephen actually by email. So I had been visiting his region and the NGO that he would come to work with through a yearly study abroad. So I take students from UB to Tanzania every year. And his executive director gave him my contact information and follow up with me. And through communicating with with Stephen, I became familiar with his work, and then I went to visit him the next year, and we've been collaborating ever since. Now, Gideon, I actually met through LinkedIn, believe it or not. We were both affiliated with YALI, which we'll hear about, and I had contacted their network with some help locating a form. And Gideon and I became fast collaborators and friends. And two more fun facts about our collaboration. I've actually never met Gideon in person. And of course, Gideon and Stephen have never met. And yet here we are presenting to you on the amazing collaborations that are taking shape. And we're also in the process of writing a book together, which is so exciting. I think this speaks to the power of technology and communication and all that is possible when we come together around the SDGs. So we're so excited to share this work with you today. Stephen and Gideon are actually going to share the projects with you that they're working on with our but it's my job to sort of tee this up by sharing our. And the reason why I think it's so important to talk about our model is because we're really lacking dynamic, powerful models and platforms to do this work. So I've given you the URL here. Hopefully Jan might be able to put it in the link. And I encourage you to get on our site and sort of poke around either while we're speaking or at another time. What I want to tell you, because I know we have university leaders with us, that the models that we currently have in place just aren't sufficient for these powerful types of engagement opportunities. We all have offices of internships, service learning, and research, even study abroad, but they tend to focus on place-based engagement. And they also focus on really sort of what counts and counting credits and hours and a lot of sort of those structural details that are important to higher ed, but do not sort of facilitate the type of engagement. So we actually had to create a model or a platform to really support experiential learning in its most robust and diverse form. So if you poke around, we're going to share with you the project portal. We call it project portal to keep it really simple. So for students, it's really just an issue of come to the project portal and find your dream project. But it's actually a little bit more sophisticated than that. So our model actually has a couple of dimensions that I want to point out. And I think those dimensions are important as you think about the projects that Stephen and Gideon are going to share. So the first dimension is what actually counts as an experience. We really wanted to open up the possibilities and connect students with places and people and challenges all around the world. So for our model, virtually anything can count as an experience as long as it's mentored, collaborative, and it results in something inherently meaningful or audience. And that meaningfulness is really critical, right? Because from the very beginning, want to make sure we're leveraging impacts. So when it comes to global engagement, the best projects actually come from getting close and really understanding needs and opportunities, and this idea of adding value, which you'll see. The second dimension that I wanted to mention is how we support students in their engagement. We're going to remove the structure and the constraints from what counts. We actually need to build in some structure to facilitating student engagement. We have to help students activate the potential of these opportunities to connect with our partners. And we actually have a really nice animated video on our site that shows the power of what we call PEARL. So PEARL is our framework. It's a process. It stands for prepare, engage and add value, reflect, and leverage. And we move students through the PEARL process to help them work through mentored projects. And the idea is that the students are building or activating the project as they go. One more piece of our model that I think is worth mentioning, we actually use digital badges to work students through PEARL. And I think digital badges just have tremendous potential as design tools as well as pedagogical tools and in building scalable models, which we heard about in the beginning remarks of this session. So I'll talk a little bit about digital badges at the end, and if anyone has questions, I'd love to talk to you about them. But they can actually help us work students through the process. They can facilitate and we get data along the way. And they allow us to capture the stories. So our students work through facilitated steps, all online. They're prompted through assignments. And as they move to the end, they get to earn a digital. And that global collaboration badge actually can live on their LinkedIn site or their digital resume. And if someone were to click on it, they'd actually see a link to their final project. So the evidence what they've completed. So it serves as sort of a mini portfolio, which is exciting for students as well. So how does this all connect to the SDGs? Well, I wanted to just share with you that we have embraced the SDGs to frame all aspects of our global projects. And so the preparation stage are actually learning about the SDGs, their big vision and goals, but then they drill down and choose an SDG or two of particular interest. and they sort of go deep. They look at the needs and challenges and innovations, and then they sort of zoom in on a particular topic that they're interested in doing their project on. And then they connect with a global NGO to formalize what that project will be. So during the engagement phase, they continue work through technology-based platforms to collaborate and to work on something that will add value. Then they reflect by bringing it back and unpacking their experience, connecting it to their academic and professional goals. And finally, through leveraging, they think about adding further capacity. How can they build on their own growth, but also how can they help the NGO and think about ways to further the work? So it really is exciting how we've used the SDGs in all aspects. So let me show you how this works while introducing Stephen. I'm excited to have you hear about his work. As I mentioned, I've actually been traveling to Tanzania for over 10 years, bringing students, bringing colleagues, and really looking for ways to build engagement in a way that will be transformative, not just for our students, but also for the community. And that has really served as the laboratory to develop our model and many of our other initiatives. So you'll see here in this diagram what students do is they sort of contextualize the partner and the work by looking at where it is within the context of the country and the region, and then what SDGs are being focused on. And Stephen is going to talk specifically about 3 projects that have been particularly fertile with regard to student interest and continued capacity. And these projects just grow by leaps and bounds. I should tell you that before COVID, most of our projects on our portal were focused on mentored research, which is not surprising because we're a research. But when the pandemic struck and our students all went online, we knew that they were going to be interested in remote opportunities. And so we quickly developed our portfolio of global experiences. And we continued to go back to Stephen and Gideon and others and develop more opportunities. And this area has just, so we just get more and more students who are eager to. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to my collaborator and good friend, Stephen Marwa from Tanzania, who is going to tell you about some of the projects that he has been working on with our students.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. Hi to everybody. My name is Stephen Mara from Hope Experiential Learning Organization from Tanzania. Hope Experiential Organization has been serving the most vulnerable communities around the Mara region. Its focus on women and girls and their families, especially on female genital mutilation, early marriage, gender-based violence, lack of education opportunities, and economic development, vulnerability. Actually, apart from those one, we have numerous projects that we are dealing on, but we are going to share a little bit on a project that Mara has mentioned above. Reusable sanitary pads. This project is one that in the year 2017, we had a trip from UB student came to Tanzania, and one of the students was interested, and she wanted to, she saw the challenges that young women are facing during menstruation. Actually, she had, as she went back, they had a campaign through GoFundMe project, and successfully the project was so much successful, whereby we started the piloting project in Msoma municipal, and the project actually was very positive, and it brought a big impact to the community, especially to the women. And the second project was inaugurated early July this year in Raranya, that has already started showing big impact to the girls, especially school dropouts who are girls. But also the new material and designs, marketing and promotion, health and hygiene curriculum is being developed by the students from UBs who are taking as a project. But students' interest is to safety and empowerment. The second project is water and sanitation in Raranya. Actually, this project is the most need in Raranya village. In Raranya is in a remote area whereby there's a lack of infrastructure, especially in clean water and sanitation. And due to the survey that have been done by jointly with the UB students, they have come up to clarify the needs and the priorities. Students are working with the village schools to develop clubs, the curriculum that will guide them during all the implementation of the project. Also, students from UBs are mobilizing the resources to buy brick making machine that will allow the community to repair and build structures. That the structures in all those are the hindrances that are causing many school girls to drop out of schools. But having this project, having this machine, actually it will help a number of girls who are dropping out of schools and who are almost losing hope to go back to school in order to achieve their dream in their future. But in addition to that, we have other new students, UB students, who will be innovating designs for the microflash toilets, which is a very essential need in most of our schools in Raranya village. Also, the students are working on mapping points and roads to support new projects and technologies in the Raranya village. And that one has been a very concern that even in the map of Tanzania, Raranya is nowhere to be seen. So we are struggling to make sure of all the initiatives that we are planning to implement in Raranya should be seen and located in the map, so that wherever one wants to pinpoint any project he is interested, he can be at a position of pinpointing wherever the project is. And thirdly, we have the community-based lab. The community-based lab is one of the challenges that is making many girls to drop out of school due to different challenges that are very dangerous as they go a long way to schools. But we have partnership with Spokesfolk organization that is based in UK, in US, that they have supported 30 boys called to support the students to go back to school, especially ladies who are the major concerns to almost losing not meeting their dreams. But also girls will be learning bike repairs. This is another upcoming project that will help the girls to repair and at least to have to continue their education. And the long-term plans have been developed to help them to continue to have business plan for the project. Also, reflections. Collaboration has transformed our model to community development rather than starting with grants. We begin with the community needs. Students' projects have generated excitement and momentum, even during global epidemics. We can go from within. Potential engagement with our colleges and universities is highly needed. Expanding model to include other more NGOs from developing countries is highly needed. Connecting different projects into a simple model to support women and girls is really very vital and is really very appreciated to what we are doing from this side. Otherwise, thank you, Mara.
in Tanzania. And as our students come up with ideas and they collaborate and they connect, we're seeing so many impacts, which in turn inspires our students to do more. And clearly there are NGOs throughout Africa and other parts of the world that can use similar types of outputs and contributions. So this is a huge focus for us, and we're looking to increase and expand our portfolios, our portfolio of NGOs. But we're also interested in another area of global engagement, and that is leadership. So at the helm of these NGOs are young, often young, leaders who are just so eager to build capacity for their communities. And it's getting harder for them to find resources to be able to invest, make a difference. And so it is both this lens of community development work as well as leadership cultivation that I'm really excited to introduce Gideon to you. So Gideon, please take it away.
Oh, hi everyone. Thank you, Stephen, for that wonderful presentation, my friend. You are doing something great in Tanzania. And I want to thank Mara for this opportunity. Even though we have connected virtually, technology has made it possible through collaboration to change narratives around various social issues in our community. Now, in 2018, I and other 139 young Africans were selected to participate at an Emerging Leaders program at Young African Leaders Initiative Regional Leadership Center in Accra, Ghana. Now, this experience was life-transforming to me. It was mind-blowing to me because for the first time, I had opportunity of interacting with other young Africans across West Africa, passionate about changing narratives around various issues and the achievement of SDG as the target has been set for 2030 and the other 169 targets. Now, apart from the fact that this experience exposed me to the struggles that these young Africans face in times as they are planning of making change happen in their various community as myself, I also discovered that there's a challenge with connecting with tools, technology, trainings, and other resources available across the world that could help upscale change and affect maximum change where it matters. And the next slide, Mara. So in 2019, I was privileged to join PriHEMAC as the program officer, and I discovered that it is not different from PriHEMAC. As pre-COVID-19 MDG era, PriHEMAC has achieved so much in terms of the rollback malaria project, the Ibadan-Montana Mortality and Morbidity Reduction Project, IMRA, sponsored by the UK-aid, and sickle cell screening project sponsored by the Global Fund, HIV/AIDS prevention program. So PriHEMAC was a critical stakeholder in the achievement of these various targets of the Millennium Development Goals. However, 3 years ago, we shifted focus, we expanded our scope to include the elderly. Now, PriHEMAC has a vision of promoting the health of the most vulnerable in the community, specifically the children, the mothers, and the elderly. So, focusing on the elderly has been a very difficult terrain, not only because there is very little commitment to programs, projects, and the support of the elderly care in Africa, specifically in Nigeria. And this is often made worse because of the lackadaisical attitude of the government at various levels. And apart from this, having advocacy, sensitization, training, and resource mobilization tools that are sensitive, culturally sensitive, and that are applicable to the elderly is not available. So while this is a challenge, the PEAR model has made this to be an opportunity to engage with students and faculty globally, starting from the State University of New York and University of Buffalo. So in the past 5-6 months during the COVID-19 pandemic, the students from the University of Buffalo and the State University of New York has been able to develop various tools that has been helpful in the achievement of elderly-friendly communities and then achieving advocacy efforts towards the promotion of the health of the elderly here in Nigeria. So we have about 12 students developing about 5 videos focusing on SDG, the impact of SDG on the elderly, the impact of the COVID-19 on the elderly, rather, I beg your pardon, and how the PriHEMAC has been contributing to the advancement of SDG 3 from the lens of the elderly care. And we also have students develop printable web magazine. As we speak, the printable web magazine is on the PriHEMAC website, and we have had very wonderful feedback. Then also 3 nursing students were able to develop infographic flyer that are sensitive to the need of the elderly. The next slide, please. The next slide. Now this presents a paradigm shift to us because this approach is quite different from the traditional model that we know of about civil society engagement and the university involvement in SDG, because it holds huge benefits not just for the students but also for the NGO in the furtherance of various targets of the SDGs. Now, these benefits also this has also brought different benefits to PriHEMAC and also huge potential for other global NGOs. And this includes that within the 5 months that this student has engaged with PriHEMAC, there has been an increased resource availability as we have not expended any fund in the development of these resources. And so the fund that were earmarked to develop the printable web magazine, as I speak, the printable web magazine will be used on the International Elderly Day, will be distributed across Oyo State, southwestern Nigeria, to the elderly and stakeholders as regards healthcare in Nigeria. And secondly, there have been improved stakeholders engagement. As we speak, we are expanding to 20 wards in 5 local governments in Oyo State using these tools. So when we go out, these tools have made it easy for us to communicate what we have in mind and then to engage the stakeholders in what we have in mind as regards promoting elderly friendliness, which WHO has also advocated for in having elderly friendly communities and cities. Now, thirdly, there has been an increased volunteer strength. As we speak, 75% of the students that engage with PriHEMAC during the program, during the Experiential Learning Network engagement, ends up extending their services. As we speak, Amanda and her colleague are developing, Amanda is a student from the University of Buffalo, they are developing various posters and sensitization materials for PriHEMAC. And they are also helping us to develop some posters to advertise some of our upcoming programs. And fourthly, this has helped us in building a community of best practices through partnership and knowledge sharing. As we know, for youth to be effective in what they do, they need knowledge. It's not just enough to be passionate about what you do. You need knowledge, you need collaboration, you need to network, you need to share knowledge with other persons and see how things are done across the world. And that speaks about cross-border collaboration. Next slide, please. Now, apart from this has huge potential in cultivating leadership capacity. Now, upon attending the yearly program in 2018, I have been able to connect with numerous youths, changing various narratives here in Nigeria and Africa. And one thing that is common to many of them is that there is this struggle to make change happen at the maximum level. So this peer model, through this peer model, we can actually help these youth to have access to tools, strategies, and resources that will allow them to lead and sustain change, especially in these challenging times. So by engaging youth leaders with university students through collaborative projects, we can empower young people around the world to be change agents and realize the vision of the SDG. And we have just 10 years to the target set of 2030, and the clock is ticking. We cannot afford to be lagging at this point. So I invite every one of you to join us. Thank you for listening, and I would then turn this over to Mara Huber. Thank you.
Hopefully you're inspired by just some of the projects that are going on. But I want to take just a few minutes that I have left with you before we hopefully have some discussion to talk about scalability, because I think the biggest danger is when we talk about our projects and our initiative at UP. Many colleges and universities say, well, that's really impressive, but you're a big university and you have the resources. We're small, we just couldn't do something like that. So I really want to point out that the components that we've shared with you are highly scalable, and you're going to have an opportunity to hear from our provost of our whole SUNY system. SUNY is our State University of New York system, 64 campuses across New York. And our provost is going to talk about our Global Learning for All agenda. They're going to talk about a program that I actually had the opportunity to help develop and implement over the summer that took Pearl, that we talked about, and took this notion of partnering with NGOs and scaled it up across our entire system. So our students across SUNY had the opportunity to explore the SDGs. They actually were able to look at specific lenses around SDGs that faculty developed as open education resources, and then partner with NGOs, including Stephen and Gideon's organizations, to do projects. And I have given you just one quote that I particularly loved, where Amanda said, it's about time. We're living in a completely digital age, and communication is easier than ever. But she also talks about loneliness and how engaging in her project helped her connect with others in a time when she felt isolated. So how ironic, with all of the challenges that we're facing, that when it comes to global engagement and activating the SDGs, I'm overwhelmed by the opportunities that technology allows us to engage in. And I think this work is just so exciting and so timely. And I couldn't be happier to hear the opening remarks about the challenge that we all have before us. So just some closing, I don't know if they're principles or lessons, or to me they're truths, that we really should embrace these opportunities. The SDGs are just incredible to frame student engagement from the very beginning, but all the way through to leveraging their experiences. Technology gives us so many platforms and tools. To see my students actually connecting with Stephen and Gideon over Zoom and asking questions and having dialogue and seeing one another's environment is just transformative. Pearl is a wonderful framework. We're finding that by adding value and leverage components, we can transform experiential learning into really high impact practices. So please use it. It's there for everybody to embrace. In digital badges, I know they can be a little intimidating, but they afford such amazing functionality when it comes to scalability and efficiency. And I really suggest that we come together around the pedagogical aspects of global engagement and really connecting with partners, both academic partners and also NGOs who are so ready and eager to work with us. So with that, I think we will stop the presentation and hopefully allow some time for some questions and for discussion. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Mara and Stephen and Gideon. That was a really wonderful presentation and great projects. There are a couple of questions, but please feel free, for those who are in the room, post additional questions in the Q&A section on the right-hand toolbar. It's right at the bottom. So one question from, I think, for Stephen, would be is regarding the reusable sanitary pad project. And there's a question asking if you can describe some of the common challenges, cultural and socioeconomic, that you found in implementing this project, considering that it's a new applied technology.
Yeah, actually, thank you for the question. The most challenges that are currently coming, the number of, as we keep on implementing the project has shown, has been so impressive to the community. And eventually, it seems like the demand is high because it has reduced the fatigue. As we talk of the disposable pets that are made from the industries are so expensive, but you might find that in the village, the remote areas, you cannot get these disposable pads. Instead, they are using these old clothes and other stuff. So having these reusable sanitary pads is an alternative to you for them to use rather than using these old clothes. And the only challenge we are emerging from the ground is that the demand seems to be high, but the how to get to accommodate those demand is another issue. But if with the possibility of having the materials, and then we have already identified the centers. We have currently have 2 centers that can produce these reusable sanitary pads. I think Mara can add more about that because I know she's more experienced because we have been working with her together in this project. Welcome, Mara.
So just a bit about the project. Our student, it's interesting, you never know what students are going to be struck by. So upon her study abroad, she just became really interested in those challenges, and she was able to locate the model and engage with the foundation who provided the training. Our students now are really interested in the design and want to look at more sustainable materials. We were able to bring synthetic materials from the United States, and now Stephen has located some as well. But our engineers want to innovate, and they want to find new ways to use local materials. So this project just continues to evolve, and now the students are really interested in the safety of the girls, because as they learn more, they're just concerned about how just going to school is putting them at risk. So they want to now do a whole comprehensive program around safety. So it continues to evolve in really interesting ways.
Great. And a second question there is, and I saw, Mara, that you provided an answer regarding UB infrastructure, but perhaps, Stephen, you could speak a little bit to how the infrastructure projects for the construction of structures and the micro latrines and things like that, how that is supported financially through the model that you all are using.
Actually, in that aspect, we were trying to see the way, because the community itself has responded positively. It's only they have been lacking some working tools, especially the machines. But their concern is to see the possibility of having the machine. After having the machine, I think even this constructing these schools, because it's one of the incoming, it will be one of the incoming pro initiative the community. The community will sell the group who will be trained to make this bricks making. It will serve as an incoming project, because they'll be selling the bricks, and they'll be having some tenders from different areas, from individual people, from the institution like schools to construct. That one, I think the project will be sustainable because it will be bring some income from various areas. But it's only the challenge at the beginning of the project is when we see this project. But as time goes by, it keeps on going. It will be going on having that sustainability through the community by itself. I think the only thing we need to think of is how do we get the machine. After getting the machine and train the people who will be responsible in the project, and then they'll be the ambassadors of the rest of the community, and they'll be having the source area where they can get the materials and facilities for them to implement the structures and latrines. Welcome, Mara.
Sure. It's interesting because the students can make so many contributions. A lot of the most interesting projects for students are the storytelling and the videos and the website and the digital media, and those can help build capacity. But there are some projects where there just needs that investment to get it started. So our students actually took on the fundraising for the PAD project. And Danielle Nerber, who's now in medical school, just went ahead. It's amazing with GoFundMe what they're comfortable doing. So there have been some occasions where the students have taken on funding. It's not required. It's certainly not expected. But, you know, in the bike project, there's a local organization, Spoke Folk, that donated bicycles. And now the students can help with the fundraising by telling the stories and helping build the model. So, you know, the investments have been very, very small, but then they allow the students just to continue to build engagement. And on the university front, our model is actually more reasonable than most of the models out there because we use workflow. So we actually use a platform that moves students through the badges. So it's very efficient, and you get the data and you get everything that we need to continue to drive our efforts. So, you know, we have to be strategic with our investments, but we're actually finding that this actually can help Stephen and Gideon get grants and get other external support because it's really laying the foundation for growth, and it's building it based on community research and surveys and capacity building. So it's an exciting model.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting when Gideon mentioned that just having those tools that were developed by the students, that those resources enables you to go out and connect with additional stakeholders, which might, you know, be able to result in further investment in the activities that are going on. So I think that's a really important point. Gerald asked, I did want to mention that we have just about 4 minutes left. So if anyone else has any questions they would like to put up in the Q&A, now would be a great time for that. Gerald asked a follow-up question regarding the kind of cultural challenges that were met with the reusable sanitary pad project around kind of myths and taboos for, you know, dealing with these kinds of issues.
So Stephen, right? I think the question is, Stephen, how did you handle dealing with all those complexities?
Actually, this is very complicated, but what we are just going gradually, giving some awareness, having some campaigns, and it's showing them the effect on how, and people have started understanding through this campaign and awareness. Although in our area it's very complicated, you need not to force everything. You need to go gradually. You enforce something in a more simplistic way, so that people can start adapting it gradually. At the end of it, you'll find that everything has gone as you wanted. But to my side, I'm really seeing things are moving rather than the taboos and all the traditional cultures have not affected a lot. In fact, initially it was a challenge, but as we are going on the way, everything's are going at a pace. Now I think what we need to do is to give awareness, to do a lot of campaigns, so that people to understand what do you mean. That's what I did to overcome all those challenges.
Wonderful. Very good. All right. Any last words to add on here? Anybody? Gideon.
Yes, I want to say that so I anticipate global community, especially the university community, will join us in building the capacity of young Africans. You need to come and see for yourself. There are so many of them that are passionate about making change happen. So many of them have started various initiatives, but to make that change process sustainable is another ballgame entirely. So, but by collaborating with the university community, the faculty, students across the world, I believe that we can make this change happen maximally.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here for this session. And I think we will end on that note. And I appreciate all of your time. Thank you, Stephen and Mara and Gideon, for the wonderful presentation. And thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.